My girlfriend looked me dead in the eye and said, "My friends think you limit me, so we're done." I just stared at her for 3 seconds before replying, "Cool, then go join them." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife, because her entire friend group was sitting right there watching this unfold. Ashley and I had been together 2 years. Our first year was good. We communicated like adults, had our own lives, made time for each other. Then she got a job at Living Your Truth podcast as a production assistant, and everything shifted. New phrases started appearing. Toxic patterns. Emotional labor. That doesn't serve me. The podcast was run by Vanessa, who'd built a brand around helping women identify manipulation. Every episode turned normal relationship friction into abuse. He wanted to discuss the budget, became financial control. He asked me to text when I got home, became surveillance. Suddenly, every normal interaction was filtered through this lens. I'd suggest staying in Friday for an early work call. She'd accuse me of isolating her. I'd ask if she wanted to talk about stress. She'd say I was demanding emotional labor. Then I discovered the truth. Her iPad buzzed with a notification. "Vanessa, clip 3 is perfect, classic isolation phrase." I picked it up and saw a group chat called Ashley Support Squad with 12 members. Months of our private conversations were just sitting there. Screenshot after screenshot of texts I'd sent. Photos of us with annotations about my body language. Voice memos I'd recorded. All dissected like I was a criminal suspect. My text about working late on a security breach. Notice the vague terminology. Classic avoidance of real intimacy. My suggestion to save for a down payment. Financial manipulation. Controlling the narrative. Every normal interaction for 6 months had been converted into evidence of toxicity. I took screenshots, sent them to myself, and confronted her. When I asked for specific examples with dates and contexts, she couldn't give any, just broad generalizations about feelings. I told her that sharing my private messages with strangers without consent was an actual violation. She said, "Vanessa says your wording is manipulative." I realized I wasn't talking to my girlfriend anymore. I was talking to a committee. That night, I got a text. "We need to talk. 7 p.m., Madrona Bar." I showed up, and Ashley was there with 3 podcast friends at the bar pretending they weren't watching. She had note cards in front of her. Actual physical note cards. She started using that therapy speak voice about how our relationship had become unhealthy. When I asked for one specific example, she fumbled through her cards, increasingly frustrated. She eventually said what she'd planned from the start. "My friends think you limit me, and we're done." I felt this weird calm. "Cool, then go join them." Her face was pure shock. Her friends at the bar went completely silent. She just sat there, trying to figure out what to say now that I'd agreed. I pulled out my wallet, put down $40 for drinks neither of us touched, and walked out feeling lighter than I had in months. I packed all her stuff, left it in the building lobby, and blocked her everywhere. 2 months later, my friend sent me a podcast episode titled "When You're the Red Flag." Ashley described our relationship as oppressive, saying I'd controlled her schedule and isolated her from friends. None of it had happened. The episode blew up, and people who knew me started recognizing the story. Former co-workers, mutual friends, even Ashley's own cousin reached out to say it didn't match reality. People went back through old episodes and realized every story followed the same pattern, turning normal relationship dynamics into manipulation narratives. Advertisers started pulling out. The podcast got canceled. 6 months later, Ashley emailed, "You weren't toxic. I'm sorry I let them convince me you were." I stared at it before closing it without responding. Sorry doesn't undo months of violation or erase the fact that she chose strangers' opinions over her own experience. I'm dating someone now who communicates like a real person instead of reading from a script.